The affirmative utilization of narratives to include marginalized voices, skills to challenge the underlying socioeconomic structures that makes the criticism of class impossible darted forth. Scholars who embrace a narrative that often fail to challenge the underlying socioeconomic structures that have excluded these groups to begin with cultural resources, prove problematic, voicing of broader macro-social dynamics which give rise to microaggression who pass lead to investigation of it, led to total neglect of the concept of class as interpretive category. These tendencies result in unintended essentialism and superficiality and our theorizing of broader social inequalities and movements organized on the basis of particular identities that preclude the formation of transformative racial class struggle, Smith 94. Movements organized on the basis of identity politics, enemy excludes everyone else. Instead of seeing the class struggle as a way to overcome oppression, working class is seen as a barrier. Notions of radicalism and class politics more than often are mutually exclusive. Identity politics heavily influenced by postmodernism, calling itself post-Marxism, for which the centrality of class elements of postmodernism stress denied human thought. The ability to arrive at any objective reality. The politics of identity is not an effective strategy for fighting against oppression, will not win the liberation, and cannot find a strategy for transforming society. Women's liberation movements embrace separatism and consciousness raising even before these splits which gave birth to separatist or radical feminism. The personal was political, well entrenched to lead women away from the activity conscious raising became in self-gain lesbian movements went into decline, and emphasis on the personal and the notion of autonomy led to further divisions. As long as capitalism exists, coming out will be impossible. The dominance of identity politics is guaranteed against building a lasting movement. Assumption of identity politics is only those who experience oppression may define or fight against. This is assumption that has often led to bitter divisions. Identity politics cannot be reduced to separatism without a sharp break between identity politics. This is all too easy to lose sight of the source of oppression, capitalism, and often to forget that those who are oppressed and exploited by the system have a common interest in ending it in. Neoliberalism orders a word that renders economically vulnerable societies disposable, creates structural violence, and more durable weight. Determining forces of inequality and repressive state apparatus have become features of neoliberalism. Draconian policies are now matched by increasing repressive legislation to curb unrest among populations falling and suffering. Privatization, commodification go hand in hand with curbing civil liberties, increasing criminalization of social problems, and the fashioning of the prison as the preeminent space of racial containment. Market freedom is now secured through the ongoing immorality of militarized state that embraces torture, war, and violence as legitimate functions of political sovereignty. Upshot of such policies is that larger segments of the population are now struggling under the burden of massive debts, unemployment, lack of adequate health care, and a brooding sense of helplessness. Government should punish, but it should never nurture, protect, or defend individuals. It also cultivates a culture of fear and suspicion towards all those others. There's an unleashing of regressive, symbolic, and corporeal violence, and all the individuals and groups who have been othered because their very presence undermines the engines of wealth and inequality that drive the neoliberal dreams of consumption. Shift in sovereignty, power, and political order, and the importance of biopolitics is an attempt to think through how politics uses the power to mediate the convergence of life and death, how sovereign power proliferates those conditions in which individuals marginalized by race, class, and gender configuration are stripped of political significance and exposed to murderous violence. And our alternative is boring politics is the only way to prevent criticism from being an end in itself, rings Paul. Occupy has gone excited from the JMUCUNY Park about 2 months after it began. The Republican Party proceeded to win a majority of the House, took 600 seats from the Democrats. Purging senators seem insufficiently conservative. Why did the effort fail? Why do most popular efforts of the left come to be mired in academic talk and pointless anti-hierarchical posturing? Occupy had no intention of doing anything except building communities with its noble refusal to have leaders. That's not enough. Occupy is the horizontal culture with everything, no strategy to speak of, no agenda to transmit it to the world. You did it by rebuilding the powerful and competent regulatory state. You do it by rebuilding the labor movement. You do it with bureaucracy. Bring back safety, bring back boredom as long as it means, and the rest of lojo-centric requirements were postponed. Occupy could never graduate to the next level. It would remain the cult of participation, in which experience of protesting is what protesting is all about. Second off. The role of the ballot is to answer the resolution question whether the topical action is better than status quo or competitive option, and U.S. should mean submitted solely about a policy established by governmental means. Erickson 03. Topic elements 1, an agent U.S. should adopt 2, the verb should that urges action, and adopt means to put policy through an action in governmental means. And 1, debate is over a controversial point of action that creates argumentative stasis as key to avoid the evolution of debate into competing truth claims which distorts decision-making benefits of society semigrant freely owing. If everyone is in agreement, there is no debate. Controversy is an essential prerequisite. Debate cannot produce effective decisions about a question or argument may occur. You can think of many more concerns. Participation is not likely productive without a particular question. Demarcating sides, understanding results in poor decisions, evidenced by the failure of the immigration debate. Without a focus, they could not agree about the state of the education. Without solutions, and if a precise question is posed, more profitable discussion is open. They aid in identifying difference resolved. The defendant's minor than the sword is debatable, yet fails to provide basis for clear argumentation. A general subject is so too broad. Argumentation should be phrased in debated sections. Resolve the United States should enter into a treaty which might oppose by arguing by a better solution that it is not to avoid creative interpretation. Debate is facilitated by focus on a particular point and deliberation is the best model. Continual testing bolsters advocacy and inclusion. This means we create better methods of engagement to resolve the effort. They don't resolve this. Often only switching sides on a point of stasis maximizes its potential. CO5. A condition for reasonableness is willing to offer justifications, but acknowledgement that views are possibly mistaken. They recognize valuability and engage in deliberation for the sake of improving citizens or justifications of laws, and must take obligation to continue to test the views and the possibility of revision or rejection. Activist tactics were employed for bringing attention to injustice. Those who are beneficiaries of the injustice or inattentive masses that enlisting citizens. The activist holds that could not be reason, objection, question of justice and implementation or authority. It is difficult to maintain epistemic confidence. Thus, deliberative confidence and lack of honest engagement. There are good arguments on all sides. Reasonableness demands one must be ready to revise the deliberative. Concludes activism is an unreasonable model. The activist sees his view as justice that given his adversarial politics. Deliberative is involves epistemic modesty, assessing of views. Deliberative can raise group polarization. Activists engage in deliberation when deciding strategy of movements must be organized. Group polarization suggests that deliberatively confronting is essential. Even when we have a truth, if we do not adopt our full view, we'll shift to more extreme point and thus lose the truth. Engagement is essential to justice and effective.
Exploding.
Yeah. And exploding predictable limits neutralizes the discursive benefits to debate and renders their advocacy meaningless. Only our interpretation preserves the revolutionary potential of a deliberative activity. Should lead to ambiguous need to be conservative about some things. They need to be willing to say no to certain forms of contest, willing to set up certain limitations. If they want to be revolutionary, disruptive, they need to set clear limits about what they will do and who they will not support. The most radical skepticism ends in the most radical conservatism of refusal to judge among ideas and activities. Is an endorsement of the status quo. To embrace everything is to be unable to embrace a particular plan of action. For embrace a particular plan of action is to reject others. By refusing to deny incivility, they deny themselves a civil space from which they to speak. They cannot turn their backs on the bullying of the white supremacists. And learning about how theory relates to policy and discussing implementation is crucial to influence the policy process. 9-9. Obama appointed few political scientists while surrounding the ivory tower never seen too high. Now scholars are going to government advancement. Of scholars are paying less attention to questions about how their work relates to policy comes for theories and jargon. Unintelligible policymakers. Academics have the obligation to improve policy engagement and enrich academic work ability to teach the next generation. Growing withdrawal of scholars behind the currents of theory raises questions that further the influence of the academic community on issues. Dangerous that academic theorizing will be more about less. Pluralism of institutional pathways is good for democracy. The process is diminished by withdrawal of the academic community that should include toleration of popular by position. And only our framework teaches debaters how to speak the language of experts. That's all sessions of silence and politics to ideological elites to dominate the argumentative frame. Hot 99. Policymakers who desire to tackle problems should be able to mobilize best available knowledge that requires precise knowledge of policy. For mobilizing knowledge in policy, they should be able to mediate disciplines in context of argumentation to evaluate and communicate policy relevant knowledge. Institutionalization of policy can spread knowledge. Political controversy about science behavior should behave like self-interested actor. Yet science maintains cognitive authority in policy making, leading way to a new political elite market. Space of political ideas is driving minimal amount of order and articulation of concepts for policy analysis to have any political impact. It should speak to political elites and okay. Ready for cross-sex?
Start. All right. So, how do you create better methods of engagement?
Okay, because we engage with the state. Like we have.
Wait, are you asking in the context of framework and the context
Oh, yeah.
of
Your Talisi evidence
Okay.
talks about how you create a better methods of engagement through deliberation. Explain. How does it create this best model?
Okay, my partner has this.
So deliberation is best because it gives us something to argue against. It's ridiculous to ask us to argue against your personal narrative. You should take a legal action so that we can debate the implications of that action.
Have you not faced a race, or not race, but like this type of act before?
I don't know why that has any you can still argue anti-blackness and take illegal action, especially
Why
in
would
a
that
topic
be
like
Why-
this.
Why do we have to engage in policy action?
Because it's best for deliberation.
What is deliberation?
Deliberation is arguing on a point of stasis. The point of stasis that we say that you should stick to is resolutional action.
And who is this best
Why,
for?
why do we have to defend resolution?
It's best for the debate community as a whole because it gives a negative ground.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sure. Take note of that. So in your last card, your however you pronounce it.
Yeah,
Hop.
I don't know,
Alright,
it doesn't matter.
Your hobby evidence. How your hobby evidence talks about how only your framework teaches debaters how to speak in the language of experts. Are you saying that every other critical app out there that engages in either a performance or is critical that ignores resolution is not expertise?
We are
All the
saying-
scholars, I'm sorry. All the scholars that have written those arguments, are they not experts in the
We're not
context of your
saying that
framework?
they are not experts, we're saying that this teaches us how to speak in the language of legal reform experts.
So what
Which
is
means-
what is this language of experts?
So, taking
Having
a
an
governmental
action,
action is in the language of legal reform experts and prepares us to engage the state, which prevents us from ceding the political.
All right, that's fine. Onto your neoliberal flow. What is born politics?
Foreign politics is when we actually do a legal reform to change the state
Wait,
instead of.
hold on. It's what you legally reform?
Okay, so the rank 12 card indicates that we have to actually take a legal reform to engage the state instead of just protesting or doing things like reading narratives because those will inevitably get ignored and co-opted or cause some type of resistance against those narratives.
How do we link then?
Because your 1AC is not a legal action and it is predicated on.
Because it's not a legal action links to neoliberalism? I don't understand.
Our argument is that it continues to prop up the system of neoliberalism and capitalism because it will inevitably fracture the movement and class struggle.
Gotcha. All right, thank you. 2 minutes. Start right.